Hello. In today's video we're going to look at how you assemble a national super. The tools you'll need for this are a hammer, a punch, a tape measure, obviously some glue. If you have one, a rubber mallet. If you don't have a rubber mallet, I would recommend using a block of wood. The cedar is very soft and it can dent quite easily if you hit it with a hammer. But ultimately, if you've got one, a sash clamp is the tool to use. Makes it very easy to pull the joints in with one of these. But a hammer will do the job. So if we look in the pack, parts you will need is 2 outside faces. These have the joints in and the slot. 2 inside faces, they're just blank pieces of wood. And 4 of these locking bars. Now, 2 of the bars have a deep rebate in them and are just straight on the bottom. And the other 2 bars have a shallower rebate in, and they have this chamfer. This is going on the bottom of the box, obviously to make the water run away. A pair of runners, and of course the nails to hammer it all together. So, the first job is going to be to apply some glue to the joints in these 2 outside faces. So if you put them back to back, if you look very closely on these edges, you'll see that one will have a planed edge and one will be sawn. I like to put the 2 planed edges at the top of the box, but it's up to you really. So we hold them together like this, and then we're going to apply some glue into the notches. We use a powdered resin wood glue you mix up with water, but as long as you're using a decent exterior wood glue that's waterproof, it should be fine. Just covering all the faces in here. And same on the other side. It's quicker to do them as a pair. Okay, and then we place them to one side. You'll notice I've placed some cardboard on the bench just to protect the bench. You can use newspaper or whatever you want. Now we take our pairs of bars, again, put the 2 joints together, and now we're going to glue these areas. Obviously, some people like to assemble these boxes differently. They'll use less glue than this, they'll use more nails. It's up to you. This is how we put them together in the workshop. And then the same with these 2 bars. Okay, so we take one of our outside pieces, putting the planed edge to the top. Take one of our bars with the deeper rebate in it, and I'm going to put glue on this face here. And then this presses into this top joint. And we do the same with the other side. Now we're going to put some glue in these slots, but we only need to go from this top edge down to about 1/4 of an inch from the bottom. Make sure you get some glue up the side walls, as it were, because that's where the main fixing is going to be. The end grain won't fix very much. Like so. And now we take our other bars with the shallower rebate and the chamfer on and glue the inside faces of them. And they go into the bottom notches. So now we're going to place the inside walls into these slots. It's very important when you put these in that this top edge lines up with this edge here in the rebate. That is what's going to set the height of the frames in your box ultimately. These rebates are set into the wood 11/16 of an inch. It's a very exacting measurement, because when you then put your runner on top of it here, that is going to set the height of your frames in the box. If you get this piece of wood too low, your frames will be too low in the super and you'll lose the bee space at the bottom of the box. It means the bees will probably build wild comb or stick it all together. And if you get the face too high, your frames will be outside of your super at the top, and then your next box won't fit on top of it. There'll be a gap all the way around. So this is quite critical to get this lined up properly. And we're looking to get it flush with this piece of wood here. So just wiggle it backwards and forwards a little bit. There, just feeling it there, make sure that's flush. And the same on the other side. Yeah, that's good. And now we put some glue in these slots here, and we'll put it on the top of the box. Obviously I'm going to look to have the plane facing up. Again, you don't have to fill the whole slot, we're just looking for the piece where this bit of wood will be. So it's a good idea when you introduce this piece to just come a quarter of this bar. Don't try and put them straight on the whole thing. And the same at this end. Just get the ends in. And then we'll line up this with the slot. And now we can hit the bars in. Okay, so before we start nailing it up, the first thing we're going to check is that this edge is flush with the top. We want to do that while the box is still semi-loose. It's these inside walls. Obviously we've got this one here flush, but the other end, like here, they're up in the air. So take your block of wood and knock them down. So that's now flush all the way along. Same on this end. So those inside walls are now nice and flush with this top rebate. So that means the frame's going to sit at the correct height. So the next thing is to get on and nail the box together. So if we start with a piece of wooden block and a hammer, we'll knock the bars in. Just work your way around. If you had your rubber mallet, you could just use that to knock the bars in. And of course, if you have sash cramps, you can just place them straight across the top and pull the box together with those. Just gently, don't have to go mad. So however you do it, you want to make sure that all the joints are nicely knocked in together and tight, and then we'll start and nail the box together. If you open up your packet of nails, you should see that you've got 24 1.5 inch nails and 8 of the little pins to hold the runners in. And we want the 1.5 inch nails. Now some people will nail their box through here and through here. We tend to just put a nail straight down through this joint. The glue we're using really is stronger than the wood itself. We're going to use the pins to hold the box together whilst the glue goes off, and then it'll never move. So rather than having lots of exposed nails which can rust and weep and look unsightly, we put them straight down through the top, so you won't see any nails around the outside of the box at all. So if we start with this one, I tend to knock the tip off the nail. It's an old habit. I was told years ago that means it's less likely for the wood to split. And then we're going to just nail down through this corner piece here. We repeat that on all 8 corners. Take your punch, just make sure the nails are nicely countersunk. Turn it over, do the same on the other side. So now's a good time to check your box is square. And we do that by measuring the diagonals. If these two numbers are the same, you know the box is nice and square. So that one's slightly over, just push that in. Perfect. Now we know the box is nice and square. I'm just going to make sure again that this is perfectly flush. Okay, so the next job is to fix these inside walls to the bars, and we're going to have 4 fixings, top and bottom, to do that with these 1.5" nails. With this top one here, this is where the runner's going to sit. It's important that we don't put the nails underneath where these holes are. So if you just offer it up, and then you can make a mark inside here that's not in line with that. And then one here, one here. That way, when we come to pin this on, we're not going to be trying to put a pin into the head of this nail. And then we can nail it into place. Obviously, we're looking to get our nails in line with this bar. So just to illustrate that they're not interfering with where the holes are going to be for the runners. Then we do the same on this bottom edge. This is not so critical in terms of covering over the holes of these fixings, but we want to make sure we're still going in the bar. So you don't want to be too low or too high. Turn it over and do the same on this face here. Okay, so now the inside walls are fixed in place. Just check again that it's still square, and then the last job is to put the runners on. So the runners go in this deeper area here. I have seen people put them on the other side by mistake. So you literally just place them in there, make sure they're pushed right down, and then use your 8 frame nails to hammer them in place. And the same on the other side. And that is your completed national super. If you want to clean off some of this glue with a wet cloth, you can. If you're using this glue here, you'll find you have to throw the cloth away afterwards, so don't use a precious one, use something you're not bothered about. The alternative is to sand it after it's all gone dry. So if everything's gone to plan, when you put your frame in, you should find a small gap here, somewhere between a 32nd and a 16th of an inch. So major space is at the bottom, and this is a bottom bee space box, and that's where the bees can walk about without building wild comb. The assembly instructions for the brood chamber and the deeper 14 by 12 brood chamber are exactly the same. So if you can make a super, you can make the other two as well.